Hello and welcome everybody to Networks Live on Demand. We are so excited to bring you Amy Pappas from Starbucks today. Amy is a military spouse and she's going to tell us about the opportunities that the Starbucks Corporation has with for military spouses. Amy?
Hi, good evening. My name is Amy Pappas. I'm a military spouse and a regional recruiter for Starbucks in the Northern Virginia area. I am married to a retired Master Sergeant with 20 years of service in the United States Marine Corps. My husband recently retired in 2014, actually 2015. My Starbucks journey began in October of 2014. My husband, we were stationed in Yuma, Arizona, and some of you may know about Yuma, Arizona. Some of you may not. It's extremely hot and very desert-like in Yuma. And he was transferred to the Northern Virginia area based at Quantico. I will share that I'm so excited that today, actually, the 27th, is my 3-year anniversary with Starbucks. So I've been here 3 years today, so I'll celebrate that with all of you. So when I thought about beginning my employment search, there's a real possibility in my mind that we would have to move again. So at that point, I was really skeptical and reluctant to find something permanent or something that I was really passionate about, with the understanding that it might not be a long-term employment opportunity for me. As you all know, being a military spouse, finding an employer with that understanding of not only the military, but the responsibilities of a military spouse, it's difficult. And I was certain that my search would be lengthy and that I would probably end up at a company where I wasn't passionate or I didn't feel passionate about. And so that's really where my struggle, began once I moved to Northern Virginia.
Amy?
Yes.
What drew your attention to apply to your current organization?
So as I began to research Starbucks, I immediately recognized the veteran and military spouse hiring initiative. I identified that Starbucks had a mission to hire 10,000 veterans and military spouses. And I really knew at that point, hiring that many veterans and military spouses was going to change many, many lives, including, my own. I also knew it was going to provide stability in the military community, especially within the military spouse space that so much needs that attention of employment and support and success. As a military spouse, it really can be challenging to find a company that understands the life that we live. So we relocate every few years. Companies, aren't always eager to hire a spouse. I'm sure many of you have been there sitting, on the other side of the interview desk and thought, maybe I shouldn't mention that I'm a military spouse because I may not get the position at Starbucks. That's one of the first questions, that's asked on our online profile is, are you a veteran or military spouse? So we don't want anyone to shy away from that. We want you to celebrate that. So that is really why I fell in love with Starbucks as a company to work for, as well as a company that I was a customer of. Okay, so I am excited to kind of take you through a little bit about Starbucks. The first thing that I want to do is really just read to you Starbucks mission statement. And I'm sure many of you have seen this. It's in our stores or you've heard people talk about it. But really it's to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. So if you pause and you think about that, that's so inclusive of everything that we do every day in every market that we are in. With our partners, our coffee, and our customers at our core, we live the following values that I'm going to share with you on a daily basis. We create a culture of warmth and belonging where everyone is welcome. We act with courage, challenging the status quo, and find new ways to grow the company and each other. We are present. We connect with transparency, dignity, and respect. We deliver the very best in all we do, and we hold ourselves accountable for results. And if you stop and you think about it, we are performance-driven through the lens of humanity. So we have the customer and the person at the forefront of everything that it is that we do, whether it's our partners, our veterans, our military spouses, our refugees, our opportunity youth. We always have people at our core. And Starbucks is so much more than coffee. It's often said, and I love to hear this, that we are in the people business serving coffee, not in the coffee business serving people. So if you think about that, you can go anywhere and get your coffee, but you come to Starbucks and you get a different experience. You walk away with a friend. You walk away with somebody calling your name and asking you how your day was. Starbucks is that intimate connection our partners make with our customers that creates returning customers, sometimes, just once a day, sometimes multiple times a day, like myself. I go often. But we are so symbolic that many people around the world recognize Starbucks just by our siren alone. And to me, that's pretty powerful. That's pretty moving that one symbol of a siren can be recognized as a global company using their scale for good. So a few things I would love to share is that currently at Starbucks, we have 26,000 stores in 75 countries. We have more than 330,000 partners that currently wear the green apron. It's a lot of partners. It's a lot of green aprons. It's a lot of connections. We have over 90 million customers per week. 90 million. Wow. 90 million, and we grow every week. And it's like, how can you continue to grow? That 90 million is such a large number, but it's fantastic. And, we love it.
That's an incredible number, 90 million.
It is. I know. It's fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic. As you all know, Starbucks, we started in 1971, and through strategy and growth mindset, we've added additional brands. Adding additional brands enables Starbucks to reach additional customers, right? We can take them beyond coffee. So if you think in 2003, we had Starbucks, Seattle's Best, and we had Tazo Tea. If you think about where we are today, maybe you're not a coffee drinker and maybe you're not a tea drinker. We now have Evolution Fresh, which are our beverages that you can get from our chilled selection in our store that are, healthy beverages that you can take with you. You can take Starbucks, ready to brew in your purse or wherever you're going and have Starbucks with you at any minute of every day. But it's just really exciting to see that Starbucks isn't just Starbucks coffee. Even though that's our name, we are so much more than coffee. We have a very rich family of brands. Something that I really wanted to highlight on this slide in particular is LinkedIn in 2015 ranked Starbucks number 9 of the top 100 most in-demand employers list. So if you're out there and you're really starting your career search, LinkedIn is a great place to go connect with people and start networking with people, especially in Starbucks. As a recruiter, I get emails all the time to my LinkedIn inbox asking about opportunities. Don't be afraid to just go out there and ask for it and ask for those opportunities. But also in 2017, GI Jobs ranked Starbucks number 1 within the retail industry for veterans and number 4 within the retail industry for military spouses. So if that doesn't say that we are making some headway and making a big impact in the employment sector of our businesses, then, I don't know what else is a bigger accomplishment than, having GI Jobs recognize us as number 1 and number 4. Okay, so I'll pause. Anybody have any questions? No? All right. So not only are we talking about veterans and military spouses, Starbucks, like I said, is inclusive. We have opportunity for all. Our goal is to hire 25,000 veterans and military spouses while hiring 100,000 youth that are currently not in school or not employed, and to graduate 25,000 partners through our Starbucks College Achievement Plan, which I'll share with you a little bit later in our conversation. So how are we making this impact? How are we getting all of these things done? First of all, we're globally responsible. 99% of our coffee is ethically sourced, and we have donated over 30 million healthy coffee trees to our farmers. So you may have heard about the buy a pound of coffee, donate a tree. So for every pound of coffee that you've bought in the store in the last year, we have donated a coffee tree to one of our farmers across the globe that harvests our coffee for us. Creating opportunities. Currently, 40,000 plus opportunity youth have been hired. over 10,000 veterans and military spouses. We also recently launched our initiative to hire 10,000 refugees. And right now we have 8,500 partners in the Starbucks College Achievement Plan. So if you think about 8,500 partners Starbucks is putting through college, Starbucks is paying for 8,500 people to get a 4-year degree from Arizona State University. Wow, if that doesn't strengthen the community or the team or the company or solidify how we are dedicated to our partners, I wanted to share, by 2020, 100% of our stores will participate in community service. And we have a goal of donating 2 million meals through food share to individuals and families.
So, Amy, if I'm being that I'm a military spouse and I worked for Starbucks or I worked in one of the stores as one of the many jobs that are available out there, you're telling me that Starbucks will pay for me to go to school.
I'm telling you that. What I will tell you is you have to pay for your own books.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we know that you can get books online anymore. You can get books on Amazon. It can be your very best friend. But yes, so if you join Starbucks tomorrow and you say, okay, want to join the Starbucks College Achievement Plan, there's a process that you can begin. And Starbucks has a specific educational counselor, if you will, that really kind of walks you through all of those steps. Myself, I am an ASU student. And so I've been out of college a long, long time. I have an associate's degree and thought, let me check it out. So yes, you can choose from any of the majors and areas of study that Arizona State University has. It doesn't have to be just business. So for me, it's organizational leadership. That's my area of study. But you find that we are so passionate about this that we want to bring you along and we want to bring you to school. And we really want you to be educated. And, there's no hidden message there where once you graduate, you have to stay with Starbucks for, 10 or 15 years. You know what? If you go and you want to get a pre-law degree and then you decide, okay, I can't do Starbucks anymore. Okay, well, we are so happy that we were able to help you get that education. Maybe you just come in and you use our Starbucks to study or come back in and say hello. And maybe it's somebody that was a store manager that now is working as a barista to put themselves through law school. So there's so many different opportunities for our partners. But when I pause and think about what it means for a military spouse is that if I get married young, right out of high school, and, I kind of put myself on hold a little bit because my husband, we have now relocated and maybe now they're deployed or they're out, on a training mission or, they're going to be gone for a few months. I don't really know what I can do. I have children at home. I can't really go to school. I can't really work. Well, at Starbucks, you can. You absolutely can. We have very flexible scheduling. We have partner networks that can help support maybe some daycare issues that might come up, maybe transportation. But you can, little by little, start building your education and start building your brand equity so that by the time your husband or your wife decides it's time to leave the military, now you can contribute 100% because you have that education and you have that work experience. So what a great opportunity, to contribute even just a little bit and still maintain that healthy work-life balance.
Awesome. And ASU is online, so you can go to school from anywhere.
Yes, you can. You can go to school from anywhere. I live in Northern Virginia, and I am an ASU student. And it's really exciting because once you get into some of those online classes, you find out that some of your Starbucks partner peers are also in those classes. And so you find that most of the conversations start to become about Starbucks and some Starbucks experiences. But It's so exciting to see that. And, something that I'll share, I was going to talk about it a little bit later, but, I'm really excited about this. So, if we have a veteran that works for Starbucks, a veteran, that veteran has the opportunity to gift education to a family member.
Oh my goodness.
So Liz, if you're a veteran and you come to work for us at Starbucks, I recruit you, you come to work and you say, you know what? I'm going to use my GI Bill and I'm going to gift this college opportunity to my, 18-year-old senior in high school. Now you're both going to school, right? Or you both go to ASU Online and use your GI Bill for some of those other expenses. So we are not only giving it to the partner, we're saying to the veteran, you know what? We're going to reward you and say thank you. And here's an education for a member of your family.
Wow.
I know. After I say that, I just have to pause because you have to let it just sink in.
You think about it and you just let it sink in about how expensive college is. I mean, wow.
And it's ASU, and I hear often commercials about, graduates placement, from ASU after they graduate, their placement, is in the 90 percentile. And we have our partners that actually go to Tempe, Arizona, and they walk in the graduation ceremony. I mean, it is part of the process. So you are graduating from Arizona State University, cap gown, everything. And I believe one of our very first graduations, we had a Starbucks get together. We kind of had a Starbucks party for our graduates that were one of the first larger classes to graduate. So again, while you see that, I talk to people all the time, even when I go to military job fairs, I tell them, you know what, if Starbucks isn't for you, and you don't want to go back to work, what about your dependent? Do you have children that, aren't ready maybe to leave home, but want to work at Starbucks and know that they can transfer and, go to college at the same time? It's just, I can't tell you enough about this amazing and wonderful benefit. I would just encourage you to come seek it out and come become a partner so that you can have this amazing benefit. Pretty exciting. Okay, so with that, I know everybody is dying to work for Starbucks, and you want to know how you can start your career with Starbucks. So we had all this great information that we talked about, and how do you transition into our business? First, ask yourself, can I show up to this business every day? This is a job that I have to understand from day one. I have to be engaged and connected to my customers and to my fellow partners at every minute of the day, right? We talked a little bit earlier about our mission statement and our values and what that means to Starbucks. It doesn't just stop and start on that piece of paper and, in your introductory or in your, onboarding process. It's every day. So ask yourself, am I the person that can show up every day, put everything else that happened, on my way to work beside me and put it, to the side for now and show up for my customer? Because that's the expectation that the customer has, is they're going to come in and have this experience that continues to bring them back over and over and over. Well, at the same time, helps you build relationships with your partner peers that are, long lasting. Our customers, again, can go anywhere to buy coffee. How do we set ourselves apart from some of the other places where our customers can get coffee? Through our partners, our customer connections, and every handcrafted beverage. We model what it's like for a public company to use their larger scale for good, right? So every handcrafted beverage, if you think about that, every beverage that is ordered is handcrafted. It's specialized in some way to meet the need of that customer, right? So we are a for-profit company, but we use our scale for good. We don't just keep it all, we share as much as we can back into the communities where we have our Starbucks stores. So I want to share a little bit about our retail operations. When you walk into a store every day, you will likely see the front line of our business. So those are the partners that create those experiences for the customers, our baristas, our shift supervisors. They serve beverages every day. And again, with that specific craft, with that name called for that beverage, there's a story and a connection behind every cup. Every cup. I used to hear all the time how customers would be so excited to come in and the barista would already start making their beverage and they already knew their name. When I recruit and I talk to potential partners, I ask them why they want to come work at Starbucks. And they said, because it's a great environment, because they know my name. How I would always say, just pause and think about when it was the last time you heard somebody call you by your name. Were you in trouble? Or was it something where they called you by your name to celebrate you, to say, Amy, your chai tea latte is ready, at the bar. And then you go down there and it's a thank you, goodbye, have a great day. And I'm leaving in the very best of moods, right? So it's our baristas and our shift supervisors and our in-store partners that create that life-changing moment every minute of every day. The barista position, the shift supervisor position, when you think about that, it's really like building your brand equity. Look at it like building your credit score right from the ground up. So maybe it's the first time you've had a position ever, you haven't worked. Maybe it's the first time you've ever had a credit card. You have to start somewhere. And being a barista or being a shift supervisor is a really great foundation for you, while also providing you the opportunity to have your work-life balance. To layer in school, to make sure that you're home for your children, to make sure you're there to support your family. 20 hours a week minimum is what you have to work to be benefits eligible. So it's not like you have to work 40 plus hours a week to get those benefits. It's 20 hours a week. With Starbucks, you can begin your career, you can continue your career, you can transfer with your career. I'll give you a quick example. My son recently transferred from Northern Virginia to a store in Illinois because he wanted to be closer to family. And it was a simple process, but that's what we do, right? We take care of our partners and we make sure that if this opportunity isn't where they want to be, where's an opportunity, and let's make sure we get them to the right place.
Yeah, I actually have a really interesting story about a military spouse that was working at the Starbucks military store down here at Scott Air Force Base, and her husband had gotten orders to Germany, and she had just transferred right over to the Starbucks on the base, no problems, no questions asked. And by the time she got to Germany, she already was set up with a job and ready to go. It was just incredible because that's such a stressor from especially military spouses when you have to leave your position, go find a new position, or especially when talking about overseas. And it's so hard for military spouses to work overseas. So
it is. And, something I want to make sure I add as I look at, this slide and I see that all of the partners, something that you may see is a little different. They all have American flags on them. When you come to work for Starbucks, if you're a veteran or military spouse, you have the opportunity to wear this very patriotic apron. It has the American flag. You can have your name embroidered on that. Mine says Amy, Marine spouse. Some of these, maybe say Army veteran or Marine Corps veteran. It's just so exciting because think about, our service members, their resume is on their chest, right? With all their ribbons and all of their medals, and that kind of tells their story. So why not bring a little bit of that storytelling into Starbucks and put it on an apron for you? Because then it's an instant connection. It's, almost an instant conversation starter. So I just wanted to share that because I think it's fantastic that Starbucks does that for our partners.
It's a great way to recognize people. It's a great way to recognize military spouses and the hard work that we do also.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it also connects other military spouses, right? So if you have if you're close to a base, or maybe you work at a military family store and you have someone come in and, maybe they're inquiring about a position and they see, Army spouse. Oh, I feel comfortable talking to that Army spouse because I am an Army spouse and I know what that's supposed to look like. So again, creating moments of connection, and that's what Starbucks does. Sometimes we don't even realize we're creating moments of connection, but we are. I also wanted to share, maybe you already have exceptional leadership skills and you already have some really solid leadership experience. So in our store leadership roles, assistant manager, store manager, district manager, this might be a right fit for you to complement those skills that you already have. So again, I'm just sharing with you a little bit about our retail operations and some of those front-facing positions that we have to offer at Starbucks. One thing that I would say to you is when you're applying for a position anywhere, but we'll just talk about Starbucks right now, I would really challenge you to ask yourself, I can do this. This is something I know I can do, or wow, this is something that I have done. And the reason that I'm just kind of sharing that very transparently is that if you're answering with, oh, I can do that, I have a whole stack of applicants over here that have done that. And so I would hate to put you into, I don't want to say competition, but put you into a pile of resumes with candidates that have done the job that you're looking to apply to, and your resume gets overlooked, and maybe it's, not intentionally, but it's just you haven't met that specific criteria. So we're going to talk a little bit about writing specific resumes, targeted resumes to targeted positions that you see. Just want to touch briefly on the other side of our business, which is our enterprise, or more of our corporate careers. Some of those, like you can see on the screen, would be finance, partner / human resources. We have our public affairs team. We have technology. We have law and corporate affairs. Most of these positions are based in our Seattle office. So to bring it into military context, if you think about, every military branch has a headquarters somewhere, right? So the Marines, Quantico is pretty much one of their main headquarters. But at the same time, the Marine Corps has bases all across the United States and the world. And so Starbucks is very much like that. We have our headquarters in Seattle, but then throughout our businesses across the U.S. and the world, we do have regional offices that help support our field partners. So you may find some opportunities in some of these corporate careers that may show up in some of those regional offices. So facility and maintenance may show up in some of those offices. Recruiting may show up in some of those. If you are interested in real estate, that might show up in one of those positions where you may not have to move to Seattle. It may be local in your regional office if you have one in your area. So just really kind of wanted to share that, yes, we do have our front-facing opportunities, but at the same time, we do have more of our enterprise or corporate careers as well.
I was just going to ask about that, about the backside where, what if you're not a people person?
Right. If you're not a people person where you want to interface with customers, every day, maybe you're more strategic and you're more of a strategic thinker, and, you're a researcher, or you want to look at the data. And, we have a lot of, I interview a lot of folks from the military, our service members that come from IT, or they come from logistics, right? We also have roasting plants across the United States as well. So, I would say to you, really just think about what is your passion, right? What are you passionate about? Everybody has that. Everybody has a passion, and see where your passion falls in the positions that Starbucks has to offer.
Right. Just like any other thing, what everyone thinks of immediately is like the stores, but there's so much more behind it too. And always look at that also.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Always, look at that. And, the other thing too is network. We talked a little bit about, LinkedIn. Definitely create a LinkedIn profile for yourself. It's not Facebook, right? So this is a very professional space for you to highlight and showcase who you are and some of those experiences that you've had. Maybe it's volunteering. Volunteering is great. I mean, we still have a beginning, a middle, and an end of the volunteer project that we're doing. So talk through that. LinkedIn is a great place to start. And so I would just share with you, if you haven't established a LinkedIn profile yet, absolutely do, because that's one of the best places you can start networking and just reaching out and start asking questions. And I say that I'm a recruiter. I get it all the time. Do you have any opportunities available? I do, or I don't, or this is where I do, or, I don't live here, but I can share it with someone that does have an opportunity.
Yeah. And I believe LinkedIn also offers help for military spouses if they're looking to create a profile, so they can help you out with that.
Perfect. This is my favorite part. I know we talked about the Starbucks College Achievement Plan, but again, I really just wanted to highlight, especially, for our military spouse partners, we do have flexible hours that offer that work-life balance. Full benefits for partners working 20 hours or more. Currently, for FY17, the company matches 5% on 401k. We also have a reduced stock purchase program. An ability to thrive across a portfolio of brands and business units. So if you think about, how many different brands Starbucks has, you never know where you may end up, right? You might start off in a Starbucks store, today, and 20 years from now, you might end up somewhere completely different, but still under the umbrella of Starbucks and working for one of our units. We also have very specific benefits created for military veterans and military spouses. And so what I shared with you is about being able to give the gift of education to a family member, which is extremely exciting. So if you are a member of the Guard or the Reserve, Starbucks provides up to 80 hours of 80 hours annually of paid time off so that you can go and fulfill your military service responsibilities. When partners are called to active duty, we do pay the difference between your Starbucks wages and your military wages, dependent on tenure and length of leave. When service members PCS, we assist military families with the transfer process to locations across the U.S. and the world, as you shared, Liz, in the story a few minutes ago. And the Starbucks Armed Forces Network, which I had the privilege of being the Mid-Atlantic co-chair for quite some time. And what that is, it's a partner-led network with veterans, advocates. We offer resources and support to transitioning service members and their families. We do work with Blue Star families. We do work with other VSOs, and it's really just a great place for our military veterans, spouses, and non-military to come together and learn a little bit more about each other. And then again, the Starbucks College Achievement Plan allows tuition reimbursement at Arizona State University. In addition, service members and veterans may designate one family member to also receive that. Again, that's powerful.
It's very powerful.
It's so powerful. So I'm going to pause and see if anybody has any questions. Any questions?
I kind of have one. What makes a difference to you in the workplace as far as
what makes a difference to me is that we have a lot of companies that talk about supporting spouses or talk about supporting veterans and hiring veterans and hiring spouses. But if you take a step back and even look at what I'm doing, 10 years ago, I never would have thought I would have the experience to be able to share, being a military spouse and what that means and ever be able to highlight that. So Starbucks made the initiative to hire veterans and military spouses, and we're also doing that. And we're raising the bar. We're saying, okay, well, now it's 25,000, and we already made 10,000. We're going higher. Starbucks doesn't only talk it, but we walk it as well. So you will see a lot of celebration in hiring veterans and military spouses. So to me, that makes a difference. If somebody's going to put an initiative out there, I would love to see the results to that initiative and not just see that, oh, that's an initiative. I wonder how it's going.
Right.
And one thing I would love to share is that Starbucks took a step back and thought about the transfer policy that we had in place. And so while, you may think you're going to PCS in 2 years from now and you get a job at Starbucks and 3 months later the PCS comes, as long as you are out of your training, you are eligible for a transfer, which is different than the 6 months that you had to be a partner before you could transfer. So I think that that's really great that the company kind of took a pause to say, okay, we hear you. What are some things that we can do to make it better for you, right? Because we don't want to bring you on and be all excited and start this career and then you PCS and then it becomes a very stressful situation to you. So that's really exciting.
I think that's probably, as for a military spouse that, gets their career going and then has to turn around in a couple of years and leave, and being able to just say, hey, I need to transfer. We're moving to such and such. Like that just relieves so much stress.
It does. The financial impact. I know when I moved from Yuma, I'm just going to share quickly. I had to leave a position. I was an HR manager, and I thought, I'm moving from Arizona all the way to the East Coast. I'm not from the East Coast. I have no idea what's going on there and the job market. And my husband, when we got here, he said, okay, kids are in school now, go find a job. And you're like, okay, go find a job where, right? Like, let me get my head wrapped around, this whole new place. And so I stop and I think about, okay, if I would have been with Starbucks at that moment, or if I would have to transfer now, I have so many great resources and so many great partners that would take away that stress from me and from my husband and would make it so much easier, the transition. So I don't know. I just applaud Starbucks for doing that because Coming from a military spouse to another military spouse, PCSing is very hard.
It is. It is very hard. And, I think one of the things that you don't think about is that if you step out of one position and you move to a new location, at least you know that you will have a paycheck because PCSing is expensive.
Yes, it is.
And there'll be no lag in time between you leaving your other job and finding a new job, which could take anywhere from a couple of months to a couple of years.
Right. You're absolutely right. And, maybe you get to your new duty station and, you think, okay, I don't know how long we're going to be here, so I'm just going to wait it out, when you peel back the layers, finances are kind of at the heart of all of, our conversations, right, with our spouses and, what that looks like and everyone being able to contribute. And so, that's really my passion, is to share how spouses can contribute without disrupting the family life, right? Without, being that my mom's working and she's never home and my dad's working and never home. Your mom or your father can be that military spouse and work at Starbucks, get their education, and when it's time to graduate, it's time to retire, both parties are ready to go and move into, second term careers, if you will. So to me, this is really my space that I love to share and have conversation with, because it's so important to be able to find your own identity as well.
Right. I think that's really important too, is to be able to stand on your own if you want to and have that identity.
Yes, absolutely. So I wanted to share a little bit about, again, transitioning and some best practices. As I shared earlier, I'm a recruiter, so I look at resumes every day, all day. I recruit for the state of Florida and for Virginia. But what I want to say to you is do your research. If you want to come to Starbucks, if you want to go somewhere else, do your research on the company. One of the first questions that I ask every candidate is, why do you want to come to Starbucks? I want to know, what's the reason that brought you to me? Like, why did you submit that application, and how important is it to you to know about the company and talk about the company? The other thing that I really want to share is, please avoid applying for anything and everything. As a recruiter, we can see how many times a candidate has applied. So I'll use an example. I have a candidate that, has applied multiple times to just all different types of positions, whether it's field position, retail based, if it's support based, if it's, Seattle based, so many different positions. I take a step back and I just ask myself, where's your passion? I don't know what your passion is, and I don't know which one to pick you for, because I don't know which one you want the most, right? And so I would just say to you, if you know that you have a background in customer service, you've done that, you can demonstrate that, then go for a position that you can excel in those customer service skills that you've already established. So again, recruiters, we shy away from those applicants that say they can do anything. I can do that. Oh, I've done that a little bit, or I've had exposure to that. The intent is positive, and that is fantastic. And we love to hear that. And we'll probably end up teaching you some of that. But we want you to highlight those specific talents, those specific goals, the specialties, and go hard and go heavy on that. Because that's going to be the difference if you get a call from a recruiter or if you don't. Think about a targeted resume. So we talked a little bit about why you're interested in Starbucks, right? But let's jump down to building a targeted resume. So if you read the job description and it says, 5 years customer service, you want to make sure that the language and that the verbiage you use, again, says something to the effect of, with over 10 years of customer service in, whatever area. Again, back to the volunteering. If it wasn't a paid position, but you organized and planned and hired and executed, and you were the point of contact for an event, talk about that. Use some of your resources on how to build your resume so that you can use those very specific bullet pointed skills and words that are relevant to the position that you're looking for. Invest the time into building your resume. Really make sure there's a lot of templates out there, and that's great, right? I love templates like everybody else because templates take some of the work out of it for me. But I would say to you, before you submit your resume to an employer, send it to your friend. Send it to your mom.
Really, really good advice.
Send it to someone else.
Yeah.
And send it with, okay, I want all the feedback that you have, whether it's good or bad, and please don't tell me that it looks great, because I'm sure it doesn't look just great, right? You want them to be very critiquing and very specific about what you need to change in your resume. Because when I'm looking at your resume, I have about 3 to 5 seconds that I'm glancing at your resume. And if there's some misspellings, on top, or you've, said, dear hiring manager for an office admin position, I want to read the rest of your resume, but you didn't apply to my position. You applied to an office admin position. So again, targeting your resume to the position that you want. Eliminate
some buzzwords that stick out immediately to you.
Yes. So I love that, because if you think about your resume, right, it's black and white. Sometimes people submit them in color, but for the most part, it's black and white, right? So as a recruiter, I want to pull the color off your resume. I want to see those words that I don't see on other resumes. I want to see customer service experience. I want to see, leadership and critical thinking and executed. Those are the things that I want to see. Results I want to see. And again, be careful with results. You want to make sure that if you put results on there, that you can talk to those results, and you can talk very specifically to those results and how you got those.
So, sorry. Military spouses are very big on volunteering. We know that from surveys. We see it every day on the bases. What would be the best way of how to word that on a resume to show some of these skills that, as I'm reading this slide, I see like targeted resume, like show that you're strong, show that you're, that you have these skills that you're looking for. And a lot of people have those skills and they get them through volunteering.
So I would say, if you're applying for the role of, a barista, right? Maybe it's somebody that just says, hey, you know what? I just want, a couple hours a week. I want to be a barista, get my feet wet and see where it goes from there. But I haven't worked before. I've done volunteer work. Okay. So how many members, were on the volunteer project? What was the project? What position did you play in regards to that project? Did you have any follow-up? Did you have any interfacing with the end result, which would be the customer, right? So if we're doing a volunteer project, our customer is the person getting the delivery, right, of whatever work that we're doing. So highlight some of those. I would also really recommend go into a Starbucks and have conversation with a store manager, a barista, shift supervisor. We do a ton of community service in our stores, so find out, hey, this is the community service that we've done. I would, love to be a barista here. Can you share with me a little bit about, previous experiences that you've had? And you can really start to have that conversation, and you're starting to network. So even just through conversation is how we get partners to apply, right? So when it comes to volunteering, be very specific with the role that you played in the volunteering and what you did. Be very specific about the task, right? What it was that you were supposed to do, and make sure that you give the result, right? So it's kind of called the STAR method, right? Specific, task, action, result. So just be very specific with what you've done in your position. And again, send it to your friend so that they can take a look at it.
Thank you. That's super helpful. That is very, very helpful.
Sure. Or send it to me and I'll help you. Even if it's not for Starbucks and you want somebody just to take a look at it, absolutely. Because your resume is the test, right? That is your test. That is your presentation. The answers came from the job description, and do those questions and answers match what they're supposed to?
All right.
And one thing I want to say, I know that there's this, I guess, hidden message out there that you should never have a 2-page resume. Well, for the last couple of months and years, I guess, I've been doing research just on, LinkedIn articles and reading and following up on best practices on resumes. It's okay to have a 2-page resume, because if you smash everything you've done into 1 page, I can't read it, and I'm not going to read it, to be very transparent, because it's too hard for me. If it's on 2 pages, and it's very bullet pointed and it's very specific, I want to see what you've done. And I don't mind flipping, the page or going to the next page. And the other thing is, if it asks for you to submit a resume, submit a resume. Mm. I get a lot of applicants and a lot of candidates that don't submit a resume, and I'll have to go over and manually find their work experience. And not a lot of recruiters will do that. They'll just move right through them because there is no resume, and it's an extra, 3 seconds for a recruiter to have to do that. So wherever it asks for an attachment, put it in attachment.
Good general advice.
Yeah, that's just in general. I work on 20 requisitions at a time, and sometimes I'll get upwards of 300 submissions per requisition. Sometimes I get 20, sometimes I get 300. One position I posted, I had over 500 candidates. Like, how am I going to find the best person in 500 candidates, right? I'm going to look for somebody that's very targeted and intentional in applying for that specific position. Or maybe somebody's reached out to me on LinkedIn, and I know that they're really passionate about that because they've connected with me.
I have heard more and more often that people are getting a lot of careers and jobs that way through LinkedIn, just by making personal connections and reaching out.
That is true. And I would also share, I did this when I interviewed with Starbucks. It was a little strange for me, but I did it. I went on LinkedIn and I looked up the hiring panel. I looked up who I was going to be interviewing with, and I looked at their work experience because I wanted to have a connection point, right? I wanted to be able to connect with something. And in the end, I wanted to be able to ask questions. And I posted on LinkedIn a couple of days ago about, in the interview, never say you don't have any questions. Always have some type of question, right? Some type of question. Again, goes back to your research, goes back to, how passionate you are, how prepared you are for the interview. So do a little research on the person that you're going to be meeting with too.
Great advice.
All right. So a few more. Engage. Again, we talked a lot about social network. We talked about career fairs. One thing I would share to you or share with you about career fairs, again, targeted resume, right? So when I go to career fairs, we have Starbucks, we have Five Guys, we have Bank of America and law enforcement. We have all of these different career choices for you to go to, and the same resume comes up every time. So go there with intent. Go there knowing, okay, I need a job and I want a job, and I want a job that I'm going to be passionate about. So I'm going to go there and I'm going to seek out those employers. My intention is not going to go and pass out the 30 resumes that I've printed, because chances are it may just be a wasted career fair for you, and you're going to get frustrated and you may not want to go to one again. So go there with intent. Go there knowing what you're passionate about, who do you want to talk to, get business cards, leave your resume, walk away, and then follow up with that person. I met you at the career fair. Thank you for your conversation. Would love to set up an additional time to have some conversation with you. Again, be a star, right? So we talked about the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. At Starbucks, we do ask questions during the interview process about the situation, the task, the action, and the result. We want to know what it was, how did you do it, what specific action did you take, and what was the result, and even what was the follow-up. Come prepared to the interview, again, with questions. So I can't stress that enough. And one thing that I will share with you, that I share with a lot of my candidates, is, especially if you're interviewing with Starbucks, ask us about our journey, because we love to share it. Starbucks, we have a lot of tenured partners, and we have a lot of great experiences. And I know I absolutely love it when people ask me why I work for Starbucks, because it gives me a chance to take a moment and reflect and be thankful for the position that I have and be thankful for the work that I'm doing. So just ask them why they love working for Starbucks, and they will be glad to tell you. All right, so here are some of our Starbucks partners that we, utilize in our VSO relationships. I know Blue Star Families has a great resource for negotiating job salary. Definitely think about that when you come to an interview. The question will be asked to you most of the time, what are your salary expectations, right? So know what you want to make, know how to do your research, know how to negotiate, see what your worth is, and never sell yourself short, right? Just because you think if you shoot too high, they're not going to, take you. Think about the work you've done. Think about how many years of experience. Look at that job description and do some research. Glassdoor is another great resource where you can find out about salary histories for companies. All right. And so this brings me to the end of my Starbucks journey today. And I wanted to share with you some resources, some additional resources that you can reach out to for military recruiting. We have Afshin Satichi on the West Coast. He's based in Seattle. And then we have Herrick Ross, who is on the East Coast. So Herrick and I do a lot of work together here at Quantico, Joint Base Anacostia, Fort Belvoir. So we're pretty close to a lot of the Northern Virginia military bases. And then me, Global Talent Acquisition. Like I said, I recruit for Florida, which I know has a lot of military bases, especially in Northern Florida and across the Panhandle. So please reach out. Would love to have some conversation with you. On the web, Starbucks Commitment to Military Communities, Starbucks Veteran and Military Spouse Career Center, and our Starbucks College Achievement Plan. And I'm going to end on that one because, again, I would just want that one to sink in, and I want you to be able to reflect on what a major opportunity that is and what a savings that is to you and your entire family.
Awesome. I do have one last question for you. It's sorry. What do you like most about your organization?
Oh, that's a lot. There's a lot, right? So as soon as you asked that, I was like, what?
That's a little loaded.
I love it. I don't get up every morning and think I'm going to work. I don't think that. And this may sound a little bizarre because maybe you've never felt this way about a job, but I almost feel like I am Starbucks and Starbucks is me. Like we're one and the same. And my life is very blended with Starbucks. So everything I do is Starbucks related. Right? My son works for Starbucks. We have my daughter's friend works for Starbucks. I get to, talk about amazing opportunities with Starbucks. I get to talk to people every day about Starbucks. But we have something for everyone. We're inclusive. We're diverse. We are always thinking of ways to give back to our partners. We are always thinking about ways to, again, be a for-profit company and use our scale for good. But, most importantly, if I can just talk about this space right here with veterans and military spouses, we're doing it. We're not just saying that, we're doing it. And I can tell you that because I hire them all the time. I hire veterans. I hire military spouses. I celebrate that. And so to me, being a part of this is really exciting and very rewarding to me because it's an instant connection. Mm-hmm. So that's why I love it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Amy. And I wanted to take a second here and just thank the Starbucks company for everything that they've done, especially for military spouses and veterans and the whole the community as a whole. If you want to know more information, I encourage you to look at the starbucks.com/veterans and find out all of the neat things that they are doing in your community.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
No, and if anyone has questions, please don't hesitate. You can reach out to me. My phone number, my email's on there. And if I'm not the right person, I promise I will get you to the right person to have some conversation with.
All right. Well, thanks again, Amy.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening. Have a great week. Thank you so much.